Welcome to the deep dive. You shared some information with us from Diversified Insurance Brokers, focusing on Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis.
That's right. And we wanted to kind of break that down, especially looking at it through the lens of, well, life insurance.
Exactly, because it seems these conditions, while we think of them as digestive, they actually have broader implications that insurance companies really pay attention to.
Absolutely. That's one of the first things that jumps out. It's not just about digestion for them. These are inflammatory conditions, and that inflammation can, show up elsewhere.
Okay, so diving in, the materials mention MassMutual specifically, but generally, how do these life insurance companies evaluate someone with Crohn's or colitis? What are they looking for?
Well, the info from Diversified really highlights a few core things. First up is the severity and the extent of the disease.
Severity and extent. What does that mean practically? Like localized versus extensive?
Yeah. Exactly. Localized might mean it's just affecting, say, a small part of the colon or small intestine. Extensive involvement means, well, it's more widespread, and logically, the more extensive it is, the potentially more complex the case is viewed.
Right. Makes sense. And the information also talked about how often flare-ups happen, the frequency.
Yes, that's another big one. Are we talking infrequent episodes? Maybe long stretches where things are calm, remission?
Or is it more constant, more frequent issues?
Precisely. Infrequent flare-ups, especially if they're well managed, that's generally a much better sign for underwriters than, say, frequent episodes happening all the time. It suggests a level of stability.
Okay. And then there are complications. The document mentioned those. Are we just talking about gut-related problems here?
No, and that's a key point. Complications can definitely go beyond the digestive tract. You might see related issues with joints, sometimes skin conditions, or even eye inflammation.
Wow, okay.
So the absence of those wider complications is definitely seen as a positive.
So they're trying to build this picture of risk. Can we just quickly touch on underwriting? What is that in simple terms?
Sure. Underwriting is essentially the insurance company's process for figuring out risk. They look at your health, your medical history, all these factors we're discussing.
To decide if they can offer insurance, and on what terms.
Exactly. It determines eligibility, the premium rates, any exclusions. It's their risk assessment process.
The materials contrasted favorable cases with more challenging ones. What does a favorable scenario look like? Maybe getting standard rates?
Yeah, a more favorable picture might be someone with, say, localized disease, maybe just mild Crohn's or colitis, infrequent flare-ups, and it's all well controlled with standard medication. They could potentially qualify for standard or maybe just slightly higher rates, what they call mildly substandard.
Okay, and the flip side, the challenging cases.
That could be someone with more extensive disease, maybe they've had recent hospital stays or surgeries, perhaps ongoing complications we talked about, or needing stronger medications. Those cases might face more significantly higher premiums, moderate substandard ratings, or potentially even a postponement, meaning they ask you to wait and reapply later, or in some cases, a decline.
Let's dig into those specific risk factors a bit more. How important is just managing the condition well day to day, following the doctor's plan?
Oh, it's huge, really crucial. If you're consistently following your treatment, taking medications as prescribed, keeping appointments, that sends a strong signal that you're actively managing your health. It suggests better stability.
In the medications themselves, does the type of medication matter?
It can, yeah. Certain medications, like biologics or immunomodulators, are often used for more moderate to severe disease. So while taking medication shows management, the type can sometimes indicate the underlying severity they're assessing and might lead to a closer look.
What about surgery if someone's had operations?
Surgery is definitely a factor. A history of surgery, especially multiple or recent ones, can indicate a more severe or complicated course of the disease. They'll want to know the details, the outcomes, and how long ago it was.
And timing of symptoms seems critical too, like a recent flare-up versus 1 year ago.
Absolutely. Recent activity is a big flag. If symptoms were active very recently, it suggests the condition might not be stable right now. The longer the period of remission, the better. Underwriters always prefer stability.
So it really sounds like the bigger the overall impact on your body and maybe the more intense the treatment's needed, the closer they're going to look at the application.
That sums it up pretty well. They want the full picture of how Crohn's or colitis is affecting your overall health and long-term stability.
The notes also mention other health issues playing a role.
Ah.
Or steroid dependence.
Yes, comorbidities, meaning other health conditions existing alongside the Crohn's or colitis, will be factored into the overall risk assessment. And yeah, a history of long-term or frequent steroid use, sometimes called steroid dependence, can be a concern because it often points to more difficult to manage inflammation.
So bringing it back to diversified insurance brokers, what's their main point in sharing all this?
I think their message is that navigating this can be complex, especially with conditions like Crohn's or colitis. They position themselves as specialists who understand these underwriting nuances.
So they can help people find the right insurer.
Kind of. They know which insurance companies might be, let's say, more understanding or have more favorable guidelines for certain conditions. They work with multiple carriers, so they can sort of shop around for the best fit given your specific health profile. They're like guides through that process.
Okay, so the big takeaway for anyone listening with Crohn's or colitis is that getting life insurance is definitely possible, but it really hinges on the specifics, how severe it is, how well it's managed, your history, your overall health.
Exactly. It's very individualized.
And working with a broker who knows this specific territory, like Diversified, could potentially make a real difference in finding suitable coverage.
It certainly could. Having that specialized knowledge can help set expectations and hopefully lead to a better outcome.
So, thinking about all this, maybe the question for you listening is, what aspects of how you manage your condition seem most relevant now, especially if you're considering future insurance needs? Definitely some food for thought there. Thanks for joining us for this deep